Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Are you out of your corn-fed mind? You're not actually gonna listen to this guy. He killed Pike. He almost killed you. And now you think it's a good idea to pop open a torpedo because he dared you to.
Why did he save our lives, Bones?
The doctor does have a point, Captain.
Don't agree with me, Spock. It makes me very uncomfortable.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're out of the heat. It's finally actually cooling down a little bit.
Don't jinx us.
I know, but still it's nice and cool. It's the 25th of July 2016, just after 9 o'clock, and like you said, we're now much more cooler, so it's going to be a little bit more of a laid back show because we haven't got a lot to look at this week. I sort of like shows when this happens. It's lovely having shows when we've got a ton to review, but we sort of like hurry ourselves a little bit too much.
Yeah, although we have got some kind of talking points a bit in the news section, a little bit.
Yeah, the news section is slightly more elongated thanks to San Diego Comic-Con, but when it comes to new films to review, they're a bit more shorter, so we can actually be a tiny bit more in-depth if we want to. So in the cinema section, two films. They're two big ones though, but two films we're looking at, and they are...
We have the perhaps the third and best in a trilogy, we will see when we get to it, of the new Star Trek films with Star Trek Beyond. And we have Steven Spielberg perhaps back to, you know, great classic kids things that he's covering, kids stories, with the BFG.
Yeah, and on Blu-ray and DVD we're looking at 5 films, which include...
We have another J.J. Abrams connected movie with 10 Cloverfield Lane, Disney animation with Zootropolis, a Roman sort of historical, around the issues of the death of Christ in Risen, and rounding out with a couple of smaller films, we have live action anime or manga, or which one do you're better off at this? How do you tell it?
Based on the anime.
Based on the anime, yeah. Attack on Titan Part 2. Part 1
I will be attempting the Japanese title when I review it.
Yeah, well, you did review. Part 1 was 2 weeks ago?
4 weeks
ago. 4 weeks
ago. A month ago.
And rounding out with the release of Rock the Kasbah.
Yeah, and on top of that we have our TV movie of the week, the Blu-ray DVD Top 10, the UK box office Top 10, but we'll throw straight into the movie news because, like we said, there is not a lot, but there are loads of little small stories floating around there thanks to San Diego Comic-Con and things that come out of there, and then other little bits and bobs that latched itself onto the end of that. So
yeah. First off, though, a bit of sad news regarding the director Gary Marshall, who has passed away at the age of 81. He's been confirmed to have passed away as of complications from pneumonia following a stroke. If you do not recognise the name, you will recognise the movie, especially this movie in particular that he directed, Pretty Woman, and amongst other things that, including things like The Princess Diaries. He's also really well known for creating a lot of TV sitcoms in the 70s, including Happy Days, The Odd Couple, Laverne and Shirley, and Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, lots of stuff under his belt there, isn't it? Lots of classics.
Yeah, and lots of connections with people. I mean, obviously... Pretty Woman is a pretty big deal, but also things like Mork and Mindy, which basically launched I can't think of his name now. It launched his career. Robin Williams. I completely spaced on his name there. So
but it's unfortunate that Marshall sort of like ended off his directing career by releasing Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, and Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So Mother's Day was his last film.
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it? Did you see it to review? Yeah, you reviewed it, didn't you? Yeah. And it was not the best, was it?
It was abysmal.
Yeah.
So it's just because he did go away for a little while before coming back to do something like New Year's Day and Valentine's Day, and he did do The Princess Diaries as well, and so he sort of like lost track a lot, considering that he was doing things like Beaches and Pretty Woman, and he had a hand in some of classic 80 TV series, including, like you said, Laverne and Shirley and Mork and Mindy. but he sort of like went away, and when he did come back, he didn't sort of like get his the feel for what he originally did. He even did that horrible Adam Sandler movie Overboard, which is a really bad film. But yeah, he sort of like lost his way.
I haven't seen that. The only thing I think of Overboard is a Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn film from the 80s.
Yeah, there was an Adam Sandler one as well in the 90s, which sort of like it was Adam Sandler's acting debut, and so yeah, it's. So
he launched Robin Williams' career, but also on the downside, he launched Adam Sandler's career.
Yeah, it started off his career really badly, but then obviously Adam Sandler did a few good films, and now he's ending off his career really, really badly. So at least he's got a bit
consistency.
Of momentum. But yeah, it is sad to hear the loss of him, and it's just even more sadder to find out the fact that his last film was the abysmal Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm. Alright, moving on to our other sort of general news that we have, and talking in general, actually, talking of really bizarre news. I actually find it's a really bizarre thing. According to Variety, Divergent, the series which was to have one more movie to finish off the series based on the novels, is now no longer going to have that released in cinemas. It is instead going to be a made-for-TV movie to set up a spin-off TV series. The fourth movie was to be based on the third book called Ascendant, but that is now going to be, whether or not it's still going to be called Ascendant or not is unknown, but it was supposed to be scheduled to debut in June next year, and now that's no longer happening. They aren't filming as they were planning to do in this summer in Atlanta. It's now gone to sort of the stage where they're trying to negotiate and work out what's happening, because it's a question of whether or not they're going to be able to get the cast that appeared in the films to appear in the TV pilot that there is going to be, and what is going to happen with the spin-off of that, because I can't imagine they'll be able to keep them all interested and tied into doing TV series that will continue on the story.
Well, what I find funny is that Shailene Woodley, when she was interviewed about this, she quoted by saying, "Honestly, I was on a plane when all that happened, and I landed, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I need to talk and find out what the details are."
Yeah.
So she wasn't even
told.
about
Yeah,
this.
It's quite shocking that that's happened. It kind of shows that a complete kind of lack of faith in it from Lionsgate, which is really kind of surprising, because they're normally quite good at this, and they have experience of doing a series and finishing it off like that with the Hunger Games, because it's the same company, but they've decided to do this, and it actually feels like a real smack in the face, because as much as you may not like it, you may not have loved the last two films. The second one we both agree on is really, really weak. The third one I actually thought was improvement, and I actually enjoyed it, and I was really kind of looking forward to the last one. And I'm now, even you have to admit, you would have been curious to see how it ended, carrying on like that, and it basically feels like it's been ditched.
The simplest thing to do is to get a different director to tackle the last one, because by the sounds of things it wasn't working very well with the director of the last two anyway, and reduce the budget a little bit more, because to tell the story you don't need like stupid special effects. Other directors have managed to handle stories like that on such small budgets anyway, so get a director in who's more competent of being able to construct a story like that together with a smaller budget, instead of just pretty much doing what TV studios do with series that's not doing very well on their channels. They always throw them into some stupid day on some stupid time, and just to finish off the run of it, because they know, not very many people are watching this, so we just need to get the run out there and be done with it. That's pretty much what they're doing with this. They're just going, let's just sweep it under the carpet and hopefully people will forget about it. Yet they want to make a TV series out of it as well.
And the thing is as well, sorry.
It's a silly thing to do, really silly thing to do.
Yeah, the thing is as well, Lionsgate, they do make some TV programs for people, but they don't have a channel or anything. So the question is, do they make it? They've got to then sell it on to someone, or do it through somewhere like Netflix or something, release it online, and so they don't really have anywhere that they're like, oh, we got a slot we need to fill, we'll put the Divergent series in there instead, and it really just reeks of kind of desperation as well, that they want to keep the rights, they want to keep it going, they want to make more money off it than they have, which is just it's poor marketing, it's poor idea. Someone has basically gone, oh, this would be a good idea, and they have no idea what they're talking about.
The worst thing also on top of this is the fact that the actors involved by the sounds of things, if Shailene Woodley hasn't been told, and I doubt anybody else was told, they would obviously know about it, but before the news was released, I doubt anybody else was actually told. They're going to look at a movie project now that's been helmed by Lionsgate and go, you know what, I don't want to do this. Because if I do, I might be on the set for like a couple of months and then all of a sudden find out my scenes have been cut out because the studio didn't like what I was doing, or the film itself is not up to scratch from what they look at and think, they're just going to throw it directly to DVD or straight onto TV or something like that. So they're burning bridges with quite a few actors as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing of that. I mean, that's nothing particularly new in the world of filmmaking. But the thing that does interest me is the fact of that if Shailene Woodley hasn't been told about this, then she, in theory, would still be on her schedule and stuff, because obviously she should already be under contract for doing the fourth film, because the way it would have worked. So that would mean that she now has to work out what's happening and if she can take other jobs and that and whatnot, and they need to know. And if she takes something else in the meantime that they want to do it, then she won't be available. As maybe with any of the other casts, there's going to be that continuity issue. The thing is, I think as well, if there is any kind of contract thing with them, it will be for films. It won't be for TV. And in which case, the studio is going to have to negotiate with them again, and that is basically potentially going to cost them more than anything else to get these stars back if they want to do that. And so it is the whole Mortal Instruments thing happening again with that, going to being transferred to TV, and in which case it will become really cheap, it will look terrible, and the acting in it will be bad because it will be completely unknowns who are cheap to cast.
Yeah, but I see the Divergent series much bigger than what happened with the Mortal Instruments City of Bones, because that was thrown onto TV after one film. This is getting thrown onto TV after 3 films.
Yeah, and it's only got one left to do, and they decide to do this, to pull this crap, basically.
It's like them turn around and going, you know what, the second part of the Harry Potter 2-parter, we're just going to release on the TV. Yeah. It's like doing something as silly as that.
Okay, next up, according to People.com, J.J. Abrams has confirmed that for the future of the Star Trek movies that are currently being made, of course we're reviewing the latest one, Star Trek Beyond, in a bit, but because of Anton Yelchin sadly passing away in that freak accident last month, that he played the main character of Pavel Chekhov. And J.J. Abrams has confirmed that his role will not be recast in future films. He said in an interview, I would say there's no replacing him, there is no recasting, I can't possibly imagine that, and I think Anton deserves better. So it's a case of that. It's interesting to have him say that, because he is a main character and he is a main storyline, but I kind of agree with that. If you know what I mean, and I'll get to this when I do the review in a little bit. But I can see a way for them to basically handle that and deal with it, and to bring in another character in sort of going forward.
The reason why is because why it might be more stranger than, say, for example, if you look at the Fast and Furious series, it's easy to actually get around the death of Paul Walker's character. It's very simple to be able to do that.
Yeah.
With Star Trek, because of the fact that these are actually the younger versions of the characters from the original TV series, there's even a tiny little snippet in Beyond which alludes to that a little bit. It's harder to actually take a character like Chekhov out of the fold, when in fact they haven't said it is, but it's supposedly a prequel to the original TV series. So his character appeared in the original TV series.
Yeah.
If it was like a prequel to the Next Generation, then fine. It's easy to actually get around that. But because it's supposedly leading up to the stuff that starts off the original TV series, it's harder to actually do that.
Well, it's not really like that. It's because it's a new universe where things have changed, so things can be changed and it not affect the future, because it's a different timeline. That's the whole thing of what they did with the first one.
Because of the fact of the one scene which involves the photograph of the original crew on there.
But that's from a
Chekhov out, and so the smart thing there might have just been not have Chekhov in that picture, or
Well,
he's missing from that, or something like that.
No, because that's the whole thing of that's from a future that no longer exists, so that doesn't really matter anyway. But we'll get to that anyway.
It's still going to be a difficult thing to actually do.
Okay, as we were saying, this week there was San Diego Comic-Con going on, which had mostly to do with obviously comic things, in particular DC and Marvel, who have had a whole bunch of things and a slew of things released and information and footage. Basically, DC stole the show. I think we can agree on that with a lot of the things they released, including in particular sort of trailers or footage for a few of the upcoming titles. We had trailers released for Wonder Woman, a proper full trailer for that, a final trailer for Suicide Squad, which comes out in a couple of weeks' time, and also not really a trailer, but kind of like an early promo edited sort of clip show sort of from the Justice League film.
It wasn't DC that stole the show, it was Warner Brothers.
Well, Warner Brothers and DC, because I mean you had.
Yeah, it's still though, because Warner Brothers added a few other extra bits and bobs on top of that as
for
well.
their TV one, yeah.
Warner Brothers in total that won the show.
But
thanks to DC stuff.
Yeah, but it also had on Marvel's side, Marvel only released one trailer because they didn't have so much done already, which was for the proper trailer, full trailer for Doctor Strange, which is out in November. And there's been a couple of snippets of information that have been released through it. The character of Captain Marvel, also known as Carol Danvers, has been cast now, and he's going to be played by Brie Larson as of Room.
Yeah, I think we sort of like had an inkling that was going to be the case.
Well, down to her, but apparently some people really like the idea of Ronda Rousey taking the role, because she was really trying to sort of get the role. And there's been some artwork that was shown at the convention, which has showed that one of the villains confirmed now for definite in Spider-Man Homecoming is going to be Vulture, which is going to be the one played by Michael Keaton, which was pretty much everyone knew that, but it's now been kind of confirmed by the artwork that's been on show. There was also things like there was a panel for Thor Ragnarok where there was some footage shown, but has not been released online. And there was also a panel for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which it did confirm that Kurt Russell will be playing a character who is the father of Star-Lord. He will be playing a character that is different from the comics in that he will be playing a character called Ego the Living Planet, which is not kind of really making sense, but I guess we'll see what happens come the movie being released next year.
Yeah, and also added to that, it was revealed that Sylvester Stallone's in the film as well.
Yeah, I didn't get. Did they say what that is? Because I didn't see anything about that.
Say
no.
What his role is, but James Gunn did turn around and say it is a very key role.
I'm wondering, do you think he's actually in the film, or do you think he's just doing a voice role?
Don't know. Really, just don't know. He hasn't said anything, and he's not going to say anything.
No.
He just played just Sylvester Stallone's character just quickly popped up at the end of some of the footage that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con reverting around Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and so
and again they're not
what his character is or what relevance he's got.
No, and again they're not releasing that footage apparently because James Gunn thinks because it's not complete. There's a lot of effects in it which aren't finished yet, including a sequence with the whole Baby Groot thing, which he says is not completed 100% yet. So he's fine to show it there, but doesn't want it being released yet until it is finished. So you can understand that, but I want to see it. Damn it.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah.
It'll be bootleg stuff which will be thrown up on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah.
Or as soon as it gets took down YouTube,
it'll get wiped off anyway.
Somewhere like that.
It'll get put up and it'll be gone 5 minutes later, so you'd have to be lucky to get it.
Dailymotion and Vimeo, they don't care about that kind of stuff anyway, so it'll be on there somewhere. So just have a little search there. And also just announced at San Diego Comic-Con as well, just to add to it a little footnote, it was revealed that The Woods, which is directed by Adam Wingott, is a new Blair Witch movie.
Yes. Are you excited about that?
Absolutely ripped the rug from underneath every horror fan's legs, because there was buzz earlier this year that The Woods is the next most important horror film. And I love what Adam Wingott does. He's a really, really good director. He did Your Next. He did The Guest. So he's
Your Next was a really good film. I really did like that.
I really liked The Guest as well, the Dan Stevens film.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really good director, and it was just absolutely nobody could predict what happened. And then on the morning a few days ago, it was revealed that The Woods is in fact the new Blair Witch movie, and now every horror fan is just going, I want to see that movie, and it's not out until October.
I think it's the fact that these kind of surprise things are kind of becoming a little bit more popular, because they're clever. People are going, well, people are like, oh yeah, I've heard of that film, not interested, and they hear that, they're like, oh, it's that, I didn't realise that was coming, and then they're like, okay, I want to see it now, as did happen with one of our DVD releases this week, because they kept that really under the rug until the last minute.
Yeah, the thing is though, I was actually eager to see The Woods, because I saw the first trailer that they released for it a few months ago, and I thought, yeah, this actually does look like a really good found footage horror film. Again, because the fact that I do like Adam Wingett's previous films, and so that's why it was always on my radar when I made a list at the start of the year of the horror films that I really want to watch. This was on my list, The Woods. And so just because the fact that it's a Blair Witch movie isn't going to make me go, yeah, I'm definitely going to see it, because I was definitely going to see it even if it was called The Woods, because I like the look of the film anyway. So, but it's just the surprise that it is a new Blair Witch film.
Yep.
Is that your news done?
Yep.
Right, my news I'll throw into the mix. It's been confirmed, 100% confirmed now, that Pokemon is getting a live action film version of it. It is definitely getting done by Legendary Pictures, and it is definitely getting written by Max Landis, and it will centre around Detective Pikachu.
Okay. Well, it's live action, but it's animation, so you're seeing it.
Yeah, live action / animation kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So prepare for it to be banned in China. But it's actually being done by Legendary Pictures, so they might find a loophole, because Legendary Pictures is a Chinese company. It's just that thing that China does not like live action with animation mixed in, but they might look at it and go, because you're using CGI, we'll let you off. So yeah, I'll see it. Just out of curiosity, I'll see it, because it's just a live action Pokemon film. Yeah, it's been confirmed that Jurassic World 2 will start film in February 2017. The film is getting directed by a brilliant director in Juan Antonio Bayona.
Okay.
You care about Jurassic World 2?
No, I just don't. It's honestly, I just cannot get excited about it. I like Jurassic World, but it's literally just one of those films where it's like, yeah, okay, that's from that. It literally was kind of chopped together from all the other things, and it did nothing new.
Yeah, but it's got Juan Antonio Bayona directing the sequel.
Yeah, well, it might be better then.
It's just been confirmed about 10 minutes ago that Charlie Hunnam will not return for Pacific Rim 2.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. They'll probably write him out in some way then. Yeah,
it was only like I said, about 10-15 minutes ago that was released, that piece of news. So a nice little bit of breaking news there. DreamWorks Animations has confirmed that Shrek 5 will hit cinemas in 2019. It's going to be out in the same year as another one of their original animated films called Shadows, which is going to be directed by Edgar Wright.
Okay.
They did say that after their acquisition by NBC Universal, that they are wanting to make some more new IPs alongside some of their already existing IPs. So unlike what Pixar have turned around and says that after Finding Dory and after Toy Story 4 and the next Incredibles, there isn't going to be any more like sequels to their existing IPs. They want to make new stuff, whereas DreamWorks says let's do 50-50. So there is going to be a new How to Train Your Dragon movie.
No, well, it was set up with like a trilogy thing anyway, so.
Yeah, Justin Lin has confirmed why he left the Fast and Furious franchise. He said, I left Fast and Furious because I just felt like at a certain point after number 6 there wasn't another story that I wanted to tell. I couldn't grow anymore. I needed another challenge.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did a good job with the Fast and Furious films. I did really like them. 5 was the best one. 6 did show signs of him being a bit kind of at odds at certain parts of it, and kind of stretching his interest, I think. So I think he made a good choice leaving it. Much as, it's a shame everything that happened with 7. It was really turned out luckily kind of well in the end, but you can't help wondering what might have been different if he'd been with it. So you just can't do that though. So
Yeah, and final piece of news, it's not technically news in a way, but it is funny in a weird sense. But police are seeking charges against an Illinois man after he pulled a gun out on a father and son after the son refused to stop kicking the man's seat during a screening of Star Trek Beyond.
It's just people. You wonder how people can not behave themselves in a cinema.
Yeah, but I understand the kicking part, but this is how stupid America is. The fact that pretty much anybody is allowed a gun. You can take a gun into a cinema.
I don't know what it's. People that are just. It's people with no brains doing things like this. And
how laxed is security in a cinema in America? Considering
it's not. It's not expected to be that you need to have metal sensors at the door and stuff and things.
No, you don't have to have guards at the door at every single door. But come on, what's happened over the last 6 months in America? Over the last few years, there's been cinema shootings, etc. There was an incident a few months ago when a guy's gun shot off inside of a screening of a film. So you would expect cinema just to even have, because in cinemas in the UK we have security guards just before you get to the entrance. I know in my cinema there is a security guard there, especially when it gets a bit hectic. And for a film like Star Trek Beyond, it is going to get quite a few people going to see it. So you expect them to be a bit more vigilant. And being able to take a gun into a screening of a film, it's silly, especially if you're going to flip out when a kid, because it's really annoying when somebody does that, and especially a kid just constantly kicking your seat, you're going to lash out. But lashing out with a gun, you can just imagine if that happened in the UK. It'll be all over the news.
Just don't.
It's silly. That's me done.
Right. So are we going on to the top 10 then?
Yeah.
Okay, starting at number 10 with The Conjuring 2, The Enfield Case.
Yeah, it's fine. I quite liked it. It's pretty much on par with the original Conjuring film. I think the first Conjuring is slightly better because this one takes a very slight story and tries to overblow it a bit, and it does that. But it's got a few decent scares in it.
Independence Day Resurgence at 9.
Yeah, it's a really bad sequel. It's a sequel that people were sort of like reluctant to see that they wanted, and when they got it, they looked at it and went, "Yeah, we didn't need it."
Yeah, it has really dropped out of the charts from the top to number 9 in, 3 weeks? Very quickly dropping down.
Yeah, a few weeks.
Yeah. Central Intelligence doing a lot better, hanging on at number 8.
Yeah, a movie that doesn't annoy you. It has got a few little funny performances in it. I think Dwayne Johnson shows that he has got a comedy side to him as well. Kevin Hart isn't as annoying in this as he normally is, so it's watchable. And that's the best you're going to get out of me for that kind of film.
Yeah, though if you have seen Night and Day, there are a lot of similarities, I think, between that and this. This being better, obviously, but yeah. Now You See Me 2 is at number 7.
Yeah, again, it's a sequel that pretty much shouldn't have happened. The first one has its moments, but it's entertaining at least. This one just tries to have its moments, but it's not entertaining at all. When it does get to the last set piece, it's a bit too late, and it pretty much blows it.
Yeah. Number 6 is Secret Cinema Dirty Dancing, which is obviously the whole thing, a special in London. It's taken
1 million
nearly 1 million from that. I mean, but that's going to be completely sold out, and that's obviously with the massively overinflated budget tickets that they have for that, which are probably about £30 or something a pop.
No, I'm £50 to that.
Oh really? Okay, I didn't even think it was that much.
£1.
Wow. Okay, well that kind of makes sense. So number 5, Absolutely Fabulous, the movie.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I have no intentions of seeing it whatsoever.
Yeah, and you'll have to see it for the DVD release.
I'm sick that day.
That's fine. You can stay at home and watch it then.
I won't have any voice.
No, it's another one of these British comedies taken to TV, taken to film. Sorry. Even though it's the fact that it's got the same cast and everything, it's not like Dad's Army, which had that. But it's had the new cast and everything. But it's very, very lackluster. Very, very. A lot of the gags don't really work, and it's just not funny. It's literally just like an hour and a half of them going around here's this person, and loads of cameos, and that's it.
Yeah.
Legend of Tarzan's at number 4.
considering that it's from a director like David Yates, who did the last few Harry Potter movies, you would expect The Legend of Tarzan to be a bit more of a spectacle when it is more of a bore. The film itself just is not interesting at all, no matter what Christoph Waltz does, and he's sort of like his manner. He's pretty much playing Christoph Waltz from Inglourious and every single other movie that has him to be a menacing bad guy. And then you throw in Alexander Skarsgård, who's just there to be the eye candy, and pretty much everybody else involved in the film itself, even including Samuel L. Jackson, who's just pretty much there as a sidekick. It's the film itself is just lacking on quite a few levels.
Taking a staggering 25 million so far at the UK box office, and number 3 is The Secret Life of Pets.
It's done insane for itself in the US as well. Nobody could have predicted how well it's done. It's only just been knocked off the chart, off the top spot in America, so thanks to one of the new releases we're reviewing. So it's done brilliantly for itself. It's a very entertaining, family-friendly, fun film. And Kevin Hart, again, not annoying, which is brilliant.
Yeah. Number 2, new entry for Ice Age Collision Course.
It's a really bad film. I quite like the first 2 Ice Age films. They're very entertaining because it's just their journey, and their journey's an entertaining one. It's just the group as well. See how well a mammoth, a saber-toothed tiger, and a sloth get on. It's sort of like that kind of joke, an Irishman, Englishman, a Scotsman walk into a bar. And in this case, you've got a sloth, a saber-toothed tiger, and a woolly mammoth walk across the world to try and save themselves. It's a joke that lasts 2 films just, but it's a funny joke in that. Yen the Milk did a bit with the third one, and they've pulled at it so hard that it's just pretty much a skeleton that they have to rely on Scrat and the fact that he finds an alien spacecraft and he is the one that's responsible for the death of the dinosaurs. It's a really convoluted, really badly created story with animation that's average at its best.
Okay, so the number 1 movie, which has done okay for itself, but could have done better, because given it was a Monday release that it was open, so it's had a longer time than normal to get in the chart. Still got to number 1, but only by a difference of about £500,000, which is not really a big lot, and that is Ghostbusters.
Yeah, considering, like you said, it had Monday to Thursday previews. It only took 1.7 million in those previews. Normally, in that preview section, that's where a film will take a lot of its takings, because people are getting to see it earlier than expected, and so they would obviously flock to it. I think it might have just been down to the fact that kids were still at school, and now with them officially being off, any movie that attempts to do that will obviously get more kids into it. The film itself isn't as bad as people made it out to be, or the run-up to it. There was a lot of hatred thrown at the film. I have to admit I was one of them, but I was throwing the hatred towards the director rather than the content of the film itself, the actresses involved, the actors, etc. It was just the director who I had a problem with, because I just did not like his previous films. Then, after the film was released, it's just the hatred that was thrown at the actresses. It was just absolutely despicable. It was deplorable. You look at that and think that, how can these people classify themselves as movie fans if they're going to be as nasty as they were? Just because I did not like the director, I will never go onto Twitter and start bad-mouthing Paul Feig. I would not send him hatred tweets. I would just not do something like that. I would just say that I don't like his films, because I don't. This one, it's nice to see that it has got its moments. It's not as bad as a lot of people thought it would be. The group dynamic works, and it works really well. And so Melissa McCarthy, I think for the first time in a comedy, I liked her. So that's just a big massive plus. I think the best thing about the film is Kate McKinnon. I think she's really, really funny as Holtzman. I think her character has a fine line between being ditzy but also being really intelligent as well. So I think it works on that front. So yeah, I would actually gladly sit down and watch a sequel involving the same group of characters, because their dynamic works.
Okay, I still haven't seen it yet, and the thing is, I'm not a Ghostbusters fan. I wasn't particularly interested in this anyway, though from what people are saying, and you saying that it's actually quite fun and enjoyable. I kind of want to go and see it. I was going to maybe try it today, but I just haven't had a chance, so fingers crossed I will get to see it some point, maybe this coming week. Because I'm no longer having to finish trying to decorate my old house. It's done.
Just don't go into it expecting something special, because it's not something special. But go into it just expecting to be entertained for the couple of hours that it's on. And if you do that you will get an entertaining film out of it. Because I was hoping for the film to be better than what the trailers made it out to be, and it is. It is better than what the trailers made it out to be, just because the group works.
Should I bother with 3D or not?
No.
Okay.
The film itself, because I saw this film in 3D, it throws a lot at you in 3D, but it's
I hate those, because that's what I was going to say. If it's the kind that things coming out of the screen at you, I hate that. Depth I like, but
it's like a pop-up book.
No.
I found it because you saw the proton pack beams come out from the sides of the screens, and it was just really bad. It distracted me a lot. So just see it in 2D and let me know what it looks like in 2D.
Okay. So, shall I do the first film then?
Yep.
Star Trek Beyond, which is directed by Justin Lin. First film he's directed in the new franchise, taken over from J.J. Abrams, who did the last two.
It's sort of burst out in Buzz Lightyear, doesn't it, when you hear Star Trek Beyond Infinity?
I gotta say, I didn't actually have that feel with it.
No, but it's just Star Trek Beyond to Infinity and Star Trek Beyond.
I've heard people saying it's the whole thing of like one step beyond, that kind of thing. But it's more that. But
I think I'll stick with Toy Story.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here, because we don't give out spoiler things, but I'm going to talk about and basically do a quick review thing, and then we will say, because we're going to have a bit of a discussion on this, and we'll get a little bit into spoiler territory, and we'll explain that in a moment. But anyway,
we need some klaxons or something.
Well,
like that.
yeah, or something.
Ooga.
Something like that. Red alert, yeah. We'll just set red alert, and get that going. We should have actually planned that. I should have got a sound effect for it. I could have done that.
Yeah, the Star Trek stuff.
Yeah. But we have the film sort of carrying on, obviously, from the previous two films, with the new younger cast playing the younger versions of everyone. The ship has been on its 5-year mission, which is 3 years through sort of this 5-year mission of exploration, and everyone's basically getting a little bored with things. It's business as usual, same thing's going on. It's the whole thing of being in a job, and every day you do the same thing, nothing really happens, and that's the thing. Kirk is getting a little bit kind of bored of it, questioning why did he join Starfleet, and Spock is also kind of questioning why he's there, because of the whole thing of what's going on with the Vulcans after the homeworld. The Vulcan homeworld was destroyed in the first film, and so he's sort of questioning, should he be doing this, or should he be going and trying to help sort of re-establish a new world for the Vulcan race. Everyone's sort of going about the days, and things seem to be going fine. They arrive at a massive, beautifully realised space station, where a ship arrives, sort of requesting help from a sort of a crashed ship. The Enterprise decides they're going to go along and help it, being that they are sort of the most advanced ship that's there, and effectively then walk into a trap, which results in some of the crew being sort of spread around everywhere, and sort of people being teamed up in sort of unexpected pairs, teams. In particular, for example, you have Carl Urban's Bones and Zachary Quinto's Spock, who end up being sort of teamed together and stuck on a planet at one point. Here's a clip.
Leaving me behind will significantly increase your chances of survival, Doctor.
Well, that's damn chivalrous of you, but completely out of the question.
It is imperative that you locate any surviving crew.
Here I was thinking you cared.
Of course I care, Leonard. I always assumed my respect for you was clear. The dialogue we have had across the years has always...
It's easy, Spock. You don't have to say it. Well, at least I won't die alone. Well, that's just typical.
So you have this whole thing of that's going on, and you have all the characters, as I say, split up into sort of smaller groups. You have For example, Kirk ends up being sort of separated and then teaming up with Chekhov and Scotty, and you have Sulu being sort of teamed up with Uhura, and it's the thing of that. Now we are going to go, as I say, a little bit spoilerish. If you've seen the trailers, you'll know this, because it is kind of in the first 25 minutes or so of the film. And it's in the trailers quite a bit, and it's been quite heavily publicised. The film kind of opens up with this thing happening where the Enterprise is destroyed, and that results in everyone being stranded on this planet. And you have introduced, as well as the main cast, you have a new character called Jayla, played by Sofia Boutella, who is better known for the last thing she was in was the Kingsman film as the kind of the villain's henchwoman. With the stabby, knifey legs.
Nice way to actually put it, the stabby, knifey legs.
Yeah.
Stabby, knifey leggy woman.
Yeah. If you don't know what that is by that description, then you haven't seen the film, obviously.
Just look at Oscar Pistorius, but a female version.
I didn't want to go there.
I know, neither did I, but that's probably the best way to actually describe her in that film, so in Kingsman.
And you also have this new villain introduced, Kroll, played by Idris Elba. And the thing is, I found myself getting into it, really enjoying it. I do love Star Trek. I am a big Trekkie. I've seen every single thing of Star Trek, even the terrible animated series from the original 80s TV series. This goes back to a film. I have played some of the games, yeah.
No, the last previous released.
No, I haven't played a game for a little while, but I played the few of the video ones. You know, the video interactive ones that they had.
Yeah, don't play the game.
I played them, yeah. But you have this whole thing of that. It does, because it has this thing of the whole thing of being on an alien planet and all that kind of thing. It does have that feel of the 60s TV show, which I really do love about this. It's more back to that kind of feel than the last couple of films have been. It does have that energy about it, and there's this crazy sort of scale to it, even though it's on a planet. You know, because a lot of the time in the TV series you had a planet, you could tell it was a stage. It was really poor sets and everything. The sets here aren't brilliant, but they're good enough that you can go with it and it's fine, but it's got a sense of scale still on the planet. There are big things happening, and that's it. But the thing I really love about it is the writing of the characters and the comedy, that there is a little bit of comedy and dialogue and things between them, and the humour, but also the kind of threat of the situation, obviously, after the ship is destroyed and everyone's on a planet and they're trying to figure out what they're doing and such. I did find as well that the new character of Jayla, I think, is extremely well written. I think a really well developed and really well planned out and great performance as well. The other side of that, the flip side of that, is the villain Kroll, played by Idris Elba, and I'm not going to go into spoiler territory here because it goes into a lot of things further on as the film goes, is a villain who is given very little development until kind of right up near the end of the film, and then you learn something about the character, and it just feels kind of forced. It feels as if it's literally they've gone, this is a villain, we just do this, blah blah blah, oh, we need to make him interesting here. And I wish they had done more with the villain, because it just really wasn't particularly well thought out. It was basically like a Marvel villain.
The only thing I'll see a one word: sunshine. That's it. That's all I'll see.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I hadn't thought of that, but I can see where you're coming from. That, yeah. And by that you're meaning the
Danny
Boyle film, yes. Yeah, there is that kind of thing, and it's a villain that has very, very kind of that kind of motive that just you question it. You're watching it and you're going, yeah, right, and then it's explained more, and you still question it, and it actually pokes holes in the whole film. But it has got this visual style of wonder. It's got action, it's got fun, it's got great things. It has got what I could only refer to as a reference to me of the whole death by stereo thing from The Lost Boys. Made me think of that at one point, which I thought was a great kind of thing. Not directly, but anyone who's seen both the films will know what I'm talking about. And I thought it was cheesy at times, but it was fun, and I'm actually really impressed. Simon Pegg has written this, and Simon Pegg just writes comedies normally. He doesn't write anything sort of like this. There's a kind of got a threat to it and a level to it and a tension at some points, and it has that. and I think he's done a really good job with it. I think it shows through that he's a big fan of Star Trek because he's infused so much into the characters. You have the whole thing of the Bones and Spock, the two of them, and their bickering between the two of them comes through. The whole thing of the characters have, as much as some of them don't have a lot to do, they all have something of their characters that if you know the series. So it's a faithful adaptation still, and it's actually, I don't think it's the best of the three. I definitely think it's better than Into Darkness, the last one, which I really had lots of issues with. But it's very close for me to the first one, to the J.J. Abrams reboot. And I'm really kind of pleased with it. And as we were saying about the whole thing of in the news that Anton Yelchin's role, Chekhov, won't be recast for future films, then I think they've set up the character of Jailer to actually kind of step in and be the new, that role in future films. I think that they can do that quite easily and quite well, and it wouldn't feel kind of like an insult to the character of Chekhov or to Anton Yelchin's character. I think that is very well done, and also I think, as I say, her character is really well developed, so I would gladly have her in future films.
Yeah, the thing with me with Beyond is I'm just as much as a Star Trek fan as you are. I used to watch the original TV series. I was obsessed with the Next Generation. Not a fan of Deep Space Nine.
Oh, what? That's the best one.
No, not to me. I loved Voyager. I'm probably one of the only person out there who thinks that Voyager is the best series, but I'm on my own on that front.
I know someone else who thinks that.
Yeah, I didn't like Enterprise. I thought that was not a very good one at all. The films are sort of like hit and miss. Some of them are really good, some of them are really, really bad. Think about Kirk speaking to God. It's just really silly. But what J.J. Abrams brought back into it is a bit more of a seriousness. What Justin Lin has brought back into it is sort of like a bit more of the campiness again. He has given the fact that there are more characters in the Star Trek universe or on the Enterprise than just Spock and Kirk. And he does shine a light more so onto these characters. And again, it's down to the writing from Simon Pegg as well. The fact that you do find little nuances about some of the characters. For example, Sulu, there was a lot of controversy behind the fact that his character is gay, and it was alluded to in the film. There was supposed to be a scene that was in the film which was cut, which is a bit silly to actually cut it in this day and age, considering what Gene Roddenberry brought to the series of Star Trek, the ethos behind it. And so I don't think he would have been bothered by it at all. So they should not have cut like the 3-second scene, but still, to know a little bit more about his backstory, even if it's just a little snippet, is nice to actually see. And so we get more of a connection with the characters. So when things happen with the characters, we sort of like, we're there with them. So it's nice to actually see that. For me, my problem, I do have a problem with the film in the way it's shot. There's two things that irked me a little bit, and it was the fact that at the start of the film, when the film started to flow, it just felt a bit flat. I think the 35mm, the way the last two films were shot, brought something to it. Just that little bit of added extra character. Because this is the first Star Trek film not to be shot in 35mm, you can see that. You can feel like there's something missing there. The other thing is, J.J. Abrams was obsessed with lens flare. Star Trek Into Darkness was definitely not Into Darkness. It was actually into light, and you had to wear sunglasses because there was too many scenes where it was just perforating the scene with just light flares. And so he's obsessed with that. Justin Lin is obsessed with constantly moving the camera around in spiral motions. He's really, really obsessed with it. There are times when you just want to tell him to stop moving the camera, because there is no need to. It's just dialogue between two characters in a sort of like a stoic area, when in fact he just gets the camera and starts spinning it around again like he's a hyperactive kid on sugar. He's also obsessed with catching scenes. I don't know what it is with him on that front neither, and so if he is going to direct the next one, he needs to tone down the spiral motion of the camera, because I wouldn't be surprised if people get motion sickness from it, like they got eye glare from Into Darkness. They're my two major gripes with the film itself. Overall, though, I was entertained. The spectacle of it is there. The big action set pieces, oh god, definitely they are there. They are there in a plumb. After the first 25 minutes, your jaw is on the floor and the hairs on your arm is standing up on end after you see, spoiler, the destruction of the Enterprise, because that is such a gasping kind of moment. But it's the way that he does it. He doesn't just go instantly, the Enterprise is dead. it's a full-on proper.
It is, yeah.
Action set piece, and so
it lasts actually probably for about 10 minutes in total, the whole thing.
But there is so much going on in it, unlike with, say, for example, Now You See Me Too with the card scene. That lasts 10 minutes, but it's only got a 2-minute bit in there, which makes it interesting. In this front, every single second from second 1 to second in the 10 minutes is just, it's needed because there's so much going on. So it has that summer blockbuster moments to it, but also has the small little elements to it as well. So it's definitely one for the Star Trek fans, but there is still enough in there for, if you're not a Star Trek fan and you go in a cold turkey, you haven't seen the previous two, there's still enough in there for you to enjoy as well. So yeah, it's a really good film.
Yep. I've done my review, so I'm fine with it.
Alright, we'll move on to the BFG. Directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, when was the last film that you saw from Steven Spielberg, or what was the last film that you saw from Steven Spielberg that was all about whimsy? That was very whimsical, that was sort of like childish kind of, child humour into it. It feels like a childish film.
I'm trying to think, because the last thing I saw was Bridge of Spies. He has been very much into his whole Cold War and war films and that sort of thing. I mean, obviously he didn't direct it, but he was involved with Tintin, which had that kind of that feel to it a little bit.
Tintin had that uncanny valley kind of thing where the characters were very distracting.
It has been a while. I'm genuinely struggling to think. I mean, E.T.'s coming to mind, but it's not. It's more recently than that.
Yeah, and so everybody knew that Spielberg, even though he started off with the film Duel, he had his serious twinges to it. In the 80s was where he cut his teeth on most of the films that people recognised Spielberg for directing, and they all had sort of like that whimsical, fantastical feel to it, and it's been a while since he's done that. Like you alluded to, he's been more concentrating on very serious subjects. And so in this case, he's taken the classic Roald Dahl novel, and there's very little actually spoiled from it because it is a novel that's been out for quite a while. He's got Mark Rylance, who was in Bridge of Spies previously, to play the BFG, and Ruby Barnhill, who was actually plucked from a school. She was just randomly plucked from a school to play Sophie. Now, Sophie is an orphan at a time that's not actually said. You don't know if it's in present day or if it's in the past. One night, because she suffers from, she can't sleep properly. And so one night she is actually taken from her bed by the BFG because she sees the BFG, taken to the BFG's land. This is not a good idea though, because giants eat children, and also Sophie is pretty annoying, which she definitely alludes to in this clip.
Where are you going?
To work.
What do you do for work?
Oh, now you's asking me to tell you whoopsie big secrets.
I won't tell a soul. How could I anyway? I'm stuck here for the rest of my life.
I catch dreams.
I want to come.
Yeah, well, very good. No, you is staying here.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You is human being, and human being is like straw bunkles and cream to those giants out there, so you're going to stay in a nice, safe place right here.
So you can hear the whimsical in that clip there, can't you?
Yeah, it's well, I want to say kind of like the grandpa sound to it, sort of thing.
Yeah, he sounds drunk. It's sort of like the way he speaks as well. It's not like very straightforward the mannerisms. It's always just carbuncly kind of stuff. And whimsy, the way the dialogue is thrown there. And you've got John Williams' score as well. It seems to just tinkle along rather than just be very serious overtures and all that kind of stuff. And sort of like that's the way the BFG flows. It's full of, I'm using the word again, whimsy. That's what it is. Slightly too much, to be honest, in my opinion. It gets onto the edge of sickly sweet. There's a part in the central section of the film itself where you're just thinking, I think you might have gone a bit too far, Spielberg. And then he tips over the edge when we get to the scenes which involve the Queen, because it's up to the BFG and Sophie to try and get the help of the Queen to stop these giants. And so there is a scene, the BFG has this green liquid which makes them pump. Let's just put it as natural as that. It makes people break wind a lot. And there is a scene which involves everybody in Buckingham Palace breaking wind, including the corgis and stuff. Now, I find that quite childish. A lot of people might giggle at it, but I find it quite childish. And it's sort of like a level you would never expect Spielberg to sink down to. And so, for me, it distracts from the film. The middle section also distracts a little bit from the film because it just takes too long to actually do something. And when it gets to the Queen stuff and the fact that they need to stop the giants, the need to stop the giants part lasts all of 5 minutes, because I think Spielberg just took too long of trying to make the film very sickly sweet, and he just loses the focus of the film. That's not to say the film is bad, because there is enough in there which will make you smile, especially Mark Rylance's performance as the BFG. I think he's just having a heck of a lot of fun. Ruby Barnhill as Sophie, a lot of critics have been liking her performance. She got on my nerves a little bit, but sort of like I slightly forgave her. But yeah, I still was thinking, can you just shut up for a moment? Because I need to let my brain just settle down just a little bit. And so overall, the film itself is very watchable. Kids will find a lot of joy from it. But for me, I just found it a bit too sickly sweet.
Right, if I end up only being able to see one of them this week, because I am seeing one of the new releases this week anyway, but if I have time to see another one out of Ghostbusters and BFG, which do you recommend I see?
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Yeah, because the BFG, I think you'll agree with me. I think Ghostbusters, I think you'll agree with me also, the fact that it is fun, and it does have its moments that it lacks. But I think with the BFG, I think you will actually find it a bit too sickly. A bit too kind of, it starts to get on you a little bit. It starts to grate on you a little bit, and the critics have been sticking up for the film. The people who've been going to see the film haven't. They've actually, if you look at the IMDb reviews from its users, it's been getting some really bad reviews from that. If you look at the reviews from the critics, it's been getting some. Robbie Collins, for example, gave it a perfect score. Me, I'm sort of like with Ghostbusters, I'm on the edge. I'm on the more in the side of the dislike than I am in the like. Whereas with Ghostbusters, I sort of like understood why people liked it, but I understood why people didn't like it. With this one, I can more side with the people who are not liking it. So it's passable, but it's just too sickly sweet.
Just having a look at it, the BFG on Rotten Tomatoes has got, from critics, 73%. The audience has given it 63%. So obviously the audience have liked it less than the critics, which is rare. Normally it's the other way around.
It's a 66 Metascore and a 6.9. But when I was looking on IMDb, that 6.9 was in the region of around about a 4. So it's actually gone up user-wise.
And just explain for anyone listening Metascore.
The Metascore, it takes the review scores from every single sort of like site that is attached to places like IMDb or whatever, that gives scores to film. So if you give it a 1 out of 5, or if you give it a score up to 0 out of 10, they take the mean of that kind of thing, and that's where they get the Metascore. The mathematical term is the mean of it.
Okay, just saying to that, so anyone listening who doesn't know what that is.
Yeah. The mean is just the collection of all the numbers added together divided by how many there are.
Everyone gets that. I was just saying why I said to explain.
Yeah, you'll be surprised how many people who just not know actually what the mean of numbers are.
Average.
The average is the middle. It's like the median, and the mode is the most. That my statistical brain is coming out, so I will just move on. Which we are going to move on to an ad break, and then we'll be back with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we are back with this week's home releases, where we'll go through the look at the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and then these new releases.
The movie this year that came out of nowhere and slapped us across the face with a wet fish in the form of 10 Cloverfield Lane And then we have Disney again trying to beat Pixar and every other animation company out there with Zootropolis. We have biblical drama in Risen. Then we have Shingeki no Kyojin Endo Obuzai Warudo.
Woohoo!
Or Attack on Titan, the movie Part 2.
I think the English one's actually an improvement because it's so much simpler.
Yeah, it's considering it's Japanese, that title was quite easy to read. And then to round off the Blu-ray and DVD section, we have Rock the Kasbah.
Yep, but of course, starting off
I'm
as...
sure you won't like it.
Well, we have TV movies of the week as well and things like that. And our recommendation out of everything that we'll have reviewed this week was to which one's best to go and see or to view. But before that, of course, DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
Number 10 is The Revenant.
Yeah, we can't really say much more about this. See it on the biggest screen and best sound that you can, and it's a very, very visceral film.
You'll notice Star Wars is not in the top 10 anymore.
Okay, I suppose that.
And number 9 is Finding Nemo.
Obviously in there because of Finding Dory coming out. I do love Finding Nemo. It's a great film. I love the 3D one. I wish I actually had the 3D one because I don't myself. But it is a great fun family film. It's brilliantly funny throughout, and it's witty, and I do love it.
So does that mean are you going to see Finding Dory?
I will be, yeah.
I'm reviewing it on next week's show.
I missed the preview weekend, so I would have seen it then, but I just didn't have a chance. I've been too busy with things, so.
Yeah, I've seen it already.
Yeah, I know
so
you have.
I'm not gonna.
I know you have, and I hate you for it.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw my 2 penneth into the hat until we review it on next week's show. But
Good,
all I'll just see is hint: Finding Nemo's better. Number 8 is a new entry for High Rise,
which I kind of did like, but it lost me as it went on. It's a 2-hour film. The second hour really kind of goes on more and more than it needs to. The first hour is actually really cleverly done, really well done. I love the look of it and the feel and the styling of it. But it's just it kind of loses me with an event that happens halfway through the film, and then the rest of it, because it's all about this whole thing of society. And then once society kind of falls apart, it then just descends into madness that it doesn't need to. It goes further than it needs to. So I would have loved the first hour to have just been stretched out to maybe an hour and a half, and the second hour I could have done without altogether.
Yeah, number 7 is Grimsby,
which is just a complete and total waste of material. It's got the potential there of having some good action sequences by Louis Leterrier directing it, but the rest of the film, the comedy stuff that's there by Sacha Baron Cohen, it just descends into complete and utter lowest common denominator, bodily parts, bodily fluids, all those kind of jokes and things that are just bad taste all over. It's a mess. It's horrible.
Number 6 is a new entry for The Witch.
I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, it is that kind of thing where people are saying that is really scary. You definitely believe it. The Witch is one of the best horror films of the last few years. It goes up there with The Babadook for me. It is unnerving. It's brilliantly well acted. It's fantastically shot. The set pieces are just expertly woven into it. It has a very dodgy ending, let's just see here. The ending's a bit strange, but if you go with it, it works for the film itself. And so overall, it's the kind of treat that horror fans keep on aching for, and it's rare that we do get them, but when we do, we need to relish it. So this year we might actually have 2 horror films which be battling against each other for best horror film of the year, this and Blair Witch. Number 5 is Deadpool.
Funny, witty, crazy, stupid, fun, and very violent. That's all I really need to say about it. If you haven't seen it, then do.
Yeah. Number 4 is a new entry for Olympus Has Fallen. London Has Fallen double bill, but we'll get onto London Has Fallen in a moment.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Allegiant.
Yeah, which I liked more than you did. I definitely think it's an improvement over Insurgent. I do hope that they actually do the last one and don't do this TV thing they're going to do, because that's ridiculous. I admit it's got some problems, but I kind of enjoyed it and I had fun with it and went with it. You know, it's nothing outstanding, but it's definitely a step up from Insurgent.
Number 2 is Kung Fu Panda 3,
which I enjoyed. It's just more the same. Witty, animation is beautiful, it's fun, and again I laughed at it and I found myself just getting into it. It's a very easy watch. If you like the first 2, then it's just more of the same again.
And at number 1 is a new entry for London Has Fallen,
which is just one of these terrible. It is. I mean, I said about the whole thing. Olympus Has Fallen came out the same year as Die Hard 5. It did Die Hard better than Die Hard did, And then they did a sequel, which is basically just done Die Hard 5, and it's just awful, and it's a mess, and it's dumb action, it's stupid. It's just like, oh yeah, tick all the boxes. We'll do these big action things. We'll do this, and then there's no story, no plot, nothing to it other than just big loads of bangs and bada bing, bada boom. That's it, and it's not even entertaining action. It's just boring after a while.
Not after a while, pretty much from when it starts. It's just even the dialogue is so creaky. And it sounds like wooden floorboards from a house that's been languishing in the middle of nowhere for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's like you just want to take oil to the joints of every actor involved because you can hear them creak so much.
Yep. Okay, moving on then to our first release this week, which is 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is directed by Dan Trachtenberg. Trachtenberg.
Like Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, but I can't even pronounce her name either.
Her from Buffy.
Yeah, I know, but I can't pronounce her name. Right, it is a film which, as much as the title suggests it doesn't really have a connection with Cloverfield. It is supposedly a kind of distant cousin thing, but it is its own separate film. Yeah.
There is conspiracy theories out there which sort of like tie it in, and there is something that if you go very nerdy with it, there is a proper connection. I don't know if I actually wanted to allude to the nerdiness, and people will obviously get onto me on Twitter about it, so I might actually keep that into my locker for maybe when we go over them in the top 10, like next week or the week after. Just a fact. I keep that. Go on.
Okay. But you have in the film, you're introduced at the beginning to a character of Michelle, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's actually has no dialogue at the start of the film. It's just played with this very monotonous, it's very ominous musical tone over the opening of the film. At which point then she is in a car accident and wakes up in a bunker with herself sort of her leg being sort of restrained and injured and crutches. She's sort of there questioning what's going on and finding out when Howard, played by John Goodman, walks in and sort of gives her some food and starts to explain exactly what's happened and why she's there. Here's a clip.
Eggs. Toradol to help with your pain.
Please. Please, just let me go, please.
There's nowhere to go, Michelle. You're lucky to be here at all.
I don't understand.
There's been an attack. A big one. I'm not sure yet if it's chemical or nuclear, but down here we're safe.
I was driving north of here.
You were in an accident. That saved your life, Michelle.
Thank you so much for saving my life. I guess I should go to a hospital now.
You can't leave.
So of course she's in this bunker with Howard. You have also another character, Emmett, played by John Gallagher Jr., who at the events that happened, when they happened, he kind of broke into the bunker because he knew of his existence, and so he's sort of, the three of them are there trapped in this bunker, and there's this tension going on between the three of them, and the question of what's going on above, if there's anything, what's going to happen, and I don't want to go into sort of spoiler territory, so I won't go any further than that, but I will say the thing that's really impressive about this, and I haven't seen it since seeing it at the cinema. I do want to see it again, and I need to personally get my home system set up, my sound and everything, because it is a film that has a phenomenal sound mix, and by that I mean the surround sound. You've got your sound mixing to the sides, but your things in front, things behind, but not just that, the actual mix of the creation of the sounds, the noise of the bunker itself, although it has this kind of the buzz of the electricity and all these kind of things, these little moments that add to it. It also has a really great score by a composer named Bear McCreary, who mostly works in TV. This is actually his first cinematic score, and it's a really good. The opening 5-10 minutes of the film is just a piece of music that he's written and done, which is really, as I say, very ominous, and it's really kind of creepy, but it's kind of like it snares you in and just draws you in. I thought it was really well handled. It's very nicely well written, considering that it's a film which is obviously very limited by what it can do by the setting and where it is. And it's actually slightly longer than an hour and a half, which you wouldn't expect, but it does a lot with a very little sort of elements of what it's got there, largely through to great performances from especially Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but really John Goodman is the one who steals the show. And it's got some little twists and turns and things that happen, and then it's got these little moments where it just stops and it's quiet. You just have a couple of characters sitting talking, and that's it. And it doesn't, think, oh, I need to get rid of these and just have, the next thing happen. It literally gives you moments of character between it as well, so you kind of care by the end of it. And I thought it was really, really nicely crafted piece of entertainment.
Yeah, and one thing I will point out is the fact that this is a very high-end 12. It was a 12 here in the cinemas, but it's a very, very high-end 12 here /12. Don't expect it to be like, it's suitable for kids. I would say even under the age of 12, because there is stuff that happens in this film which is, I'm surprised they were able to actually get away with.
Yeah, there's subject in there as well, because there's things that are revealed that are connected to the characters which are really 12 and above subject as well.
Yeah, and considering that the guy Dan Trachtenberg got this 10 Cloverfield Lane after doing a short based on Portal, called Portal No Escape, which I implore people to go out and watch it on YouTube, because it's really
it is. I have seen it as well.
It's really impressive considering this is his proper directorial debut. He adds oodles of tension, and this is a first-time director, full-length feature film-wise, and a lot of directors who've been doing this thing for years and years and years struggle to get tension in films like Trachtenberg manages to get in 10 Cloverfield Lane, and that's thanks to his cast, because the fact that he is not pouring tons of people into the film itself. There is 5 characters tops throughout the entire film, and one of them is on the phone. And so it's just there is 4 people who you see throughout the entirety of the film, and so it's brilliant that a director can actually do that. And overall, I really like that. Even a lot of people who didn't like the ending, I actually quite like the ending as well. And so it's going to be one of those rare things where I'm actually going to go out and buy the Blu-ray. I buy very few films these days, but I am definitely going to buy 10 Cloverfield Lane, because it's an important film from a directorial debut standpoint of view, but it's also a movie that I can see myself, sort of like as with Trick or Treat or Krampus or Gremlins, watch every single year and still get something out of it. So yeah, I really liked 10 Cloverfield Lane. Zootropolis. We actually got a double bill of films that are sort of like upper echelon of quality when it comes to films. Zootropolis in the form of animation this time.
Or Zootopia, as it's also known.
Yeah, but we know it as Zootropolis over here. And it's directed by Byron Howard and Rick Moore. And it centers around the character of Judy Hopps. She's a bunny rabbit. At the start of the film, we see her taking part in a school play where she points out that no matter how big or how small you are, you can do whatever you dream to do. And then she's attacked at sort of like a fate by a fox, a wily fox, which does not stop her. She wants to become a police officer, so she goes into training. She gets knocked down a lot. And then she becomes the highest ranked person in her group. She is the top dog of everybody, and so she's sent off to Zootopia, where she's enlisted into the main police force there. And then we met with the character who's voiced by Idris Elba, who plays Chief Bogo, who sort of like doesn't see her like this, so he throws her instantly on parking duty. There she meets a wily fox in the form of Nick Wilde, voiced by Jason Bateman, and she ends up discovering a case which involves a lot of people gone missing, and she needs help. This is the person she goes to. Here's a clip.
Hey, carrots, you're gonna wake the baby. I gotta get to work.
This is important, sir. I think your $10 worth of popsicles can wait.
Ha! I make $200 a day, Fluff. 365 days a year since I was 12. And time is money. Hop along.
Please just look at the picture. You sold Mr. Otterton that popsicle, right? Do you know him?
I know everybody. And I also know that somewhere There's a toy store missing its stuffed animal, so why don't you get back to your box?
Fine. Then we'll have to do this the hard way.
Did you just boot my stroller?
Nicholas Wilde, you are under arrest.
For what? Hurting your free wings?
Felony tax evasion. Yeah, $200 a day, 365 days a year. Since you were 12, that's 2 decades, so times 20, which is 1,460,000, I think. I mean, I am just a dumb bunny, but we are good at multiplying.
Okay, I love throwing you for 6 on that kind of fun, don't I?
Yeah, I really hate when you leave a clip with like 5 seconds of silence on the end of it, because I'm counting down to the end of it so I can unmute us at the right time, and it sounds really professional when it's just like dead air for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it does. I do that on purpose. Brilliant at doing it as well.
Yeah. The joys of live shows.
Yeah, Zootropolis or Zootopia has something else in common with 10 Cloverfield Lane, in the fact that this is a very high-end PG. There is a lot of darkness that's going on in this film. A lot of darkness, because it's not just... when you're introduced to Zootopia for the first time, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. As a matter of fact, it's sort of like a little detriment to the film, because we see these beautiful different vistas, from icy tundras to snow plains to all that kind of thing. Yet we're only ever in central Zootopia. We never ever go back to other areas of Zootopia at all. And that might be there for sequels to come. So they were maybe strip feeding us just little morsels and then going, yeah, we'll go back to here at a later date. And so we've got a vibrant city that's full of loads of different animals, everything from small little ones like a Godfather shrew to huge, massive, naked elephants and giraffes in a very funny scene, to sloths, again in an equally funny scene which involves sloths at a DV Elliot. And so it has its humour, it has its darkness. The film itself melds them both together brilliantly. It adds proper nods there to adults in forms of things like Breaking Bad, and go, yep, there's something for you. Kids will not get that. Yet there's stuff there for kids who they'll instantly just latch on, which adults will go, what? They'll be slightly confused at it. And so overall, though, this is, again, Disney at its highest peak. They're knocking it at the park with a lot of animated feature films as of late. And Zootropolis / Zootopia definitely should be on the top of your list, because it's funny, it's dark, it's entertaining, it flows really well. When you think that it might be dragging a little bit, it's not, because the story works, the character development works, the mechanics between both Judy and Nick, they meld together brilliantly, and so that works. And so pretty much everything involved in this film works, including the score as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth your watch, animation film wise, or just even film wise.
Yeah, I agree with that, everything as well. I'm just going to add as well, the one thing that it does have, especially which was lacking from a lot of the recent animation films, is the ingenuity of the world, the design, the ideas in it. Visually, it's got a lot of humour in it, because of just the way that they've thought out the world of all the different animals living in together, and you know, the things like the train has 3 different doors for different size animals, that sort of thing, that just works really well in it. And it's that kind of stuff that just, it's things like that Monsters Inc. had and Monsters University didn't. And that sort of thing that really adds a lot of humour and a lot of feel to it.
You've got also that city within a city kind of thing. Like you've got that little tiny mouse city inside the big, huge, massive city. And so you've got loads of, like, every single area. Even when you go to the darkest parts of Zootopia, is still breathing with life. There is still a lot happening.
Okay, on to Risen, which is the kind of religious-based movie, directed by Kevin Reynolds, who also had a hand in the screenplay. It stars Joseph Fiennes as Clavius, a Roman tribune who is in sort of the Roman army, and this is all set around the time of you have the character of Jesus in the movie referred to by name as Yeshua, played by Cliff Curtis. He is Clavius is actually one of the soldiers who is sort of leading the charge against battles against the Jews at certain points, and he's called back into a meeting with one of his superiors, Pilate, played by Peter Firth, who calls in to tell him about this particular Jew that has become a bit of a note of issue. Here's a clip.
Did you win?
I was told to hurry.
In truth, you're well dressed for this job.
What's happened?
Passover. Every hothead and holy fool in Judea was here, stirring the pot. Some ascetic, one of following by making waves, so the Sanhedrin decided to put him down. Sent a lathered mob here, screaming for his blood because he claims to be their Messiah. I had to crucify him. Don't give me that look. I've had enough already. I had a situation, Tribune, something you don't seem to understand. Soon the Emperor arrives here, and he expects to find order.
So you have this whole thing of that Clavius is then sent to the actual the crucifixion of Christ, where he orders the guards to actually kill him on the cross to make it a quick and sort of more merciful death. Jesus' body is then taken to be buried and put into a crypt, which then later it turns out obviously he is disappeared from, and there's this whole thing of them sort of investigating sort of this and kind of beginning a manhunt looking for the people who supposedly would have broken into the crypt and stolen this body in order to try and sort of suggest the fact of that this man has risen from the death. It has this whole thing, this undercurrent of the whole thing of religion and Clavius' sort of question of faith and all, but it doesn't really go into that. It's more about him, first of all, starting off and being kind of like a classic Roman, kind of policeman, going around saying, do this, investigate this, don't touch this, leave it until we can look at it and stuff, and it's actually pretty well handled. It's largely down to a great performance from Joseph Fiennes. And then in the last half of the film, he starts to then look into the followers of Yeshua and investigating them, and then following them at times, and following them as they kind of go on a mission, sort of thing. And I'm not into religious films. I'm into religious films. I'm not a religious person, but I do like when you have a well kind of thought out and a well kind of planned and put together film about religion. And I really kind of got into this. I was surprised how much I got into it, because I hadn't seen much of it. It came out in cinemas, I think, in March, but a very tiny release, and it just disappeared. And it's getting this release on DVD and Blu-ray, and it's surprisingly kind of it got me. And I was watching it, and I love the style of it. That I love the production value of it. It looks really good. Everything, everyone's proper dressed up as they should be, and it looks all good. The feel of it is really good, and then it goes into this whole thing of the religion bit, sort of the last half of it, which it did lose me a little bit there, but I stayed with it because of Joseph Fiennes' performance, who gives a really good performance throughout the film. I kind of think it should have been given a bit more recognition based on his performance alone, because I really kind of got into it just from his character, and I liked his character by the end of it. As much as he starts off as not a very good character, by the end of it, it was surprising that I got into it, and I liked his character by the end of the film. So if you like Joseph Fiennes as an actor, if you want to see something that he's in and it's a good thing, I wouldn't say it's a film, if you're a religious person, then see it because of the religious aspect of it, because it's not really about the religion. It's about this character and him going through this change, and as he starts out one type of person and ends in another type of person, and that change, that character, is really well handled by the actor.
Right, I'll quickly get on with Attack on Titan the movie part 2, or Shingeki no Kyojin and End or Obuzai Warudo, because the fact that there's not very much to tell about the film. It follows directly on from part 1, which is probably the obvious way to do a part 2, in the fact that Eren Yeager, who is sort of like the lead character of part 1, we discover that he has this ability to transform himself into a Titan. If you don't know what Titans are, in the animated series, in the manga, the comic book part of it, and in the first part of the live action ones, they are these giant humans that have been walled off from standard humans, and they feed on human flesh. And so they've managed to burst through into the cities where these walls have been protecting them, and you've got these soldiers which are actually protecting the humans inside the enclaves inside the walls. And so it was discovered that Eren Yeager was able to transform himself into a giant Titan and pretty much destroy these Titans by just punching them, because the only way you could do it is by swipe them across the back of the neck. And so the humans inside the cities are scared of Eren. They don't know what's going on. They don't know whether they can use Eren as a weapon. They don't know if they can actually trust him, that if he does turn into a Titan again, that they could turn against him. You know, pretty much the entirety of the film is centered around their turmoil regarding Eren. And so little is left to the battle against the Titans, which is the whole point of Attack on Titan. You've got these giant things that are decimating everything. And most of this film is spent on what they're going to do with Eren. Only every now and again are we given the chance to see people being ripped apart or some action of some kind of sort. For example, there is one scene, which is probably the standout moment scene from the entirety of both sections of the film, which involves this huge, massive Titan, which is intelligent. It's got like a bone kind of structure on the outside rather than the inside, and it's because the Titans themselves, they're just huge, massive skin masses. And so this is protecting this Titan, and so when they do go for the swipe across the back of the neck, the Titan knows to block its hand there to stop them from doing that. It's an intelligent Titan, and this Titan goes on a killing rampage, and it's very well constructed. The rest of the film is horrible. It's really horrendous because it doesn't know where to meld live action with the CGI Titans. When it does, it's so messy. It's like when you're watching something that involves just actors on green screen sets, and you can definitely tell they're on green screen sets. That's exactly the way this film plays out to be. Sky Captain was the film I was trying to think of, and it just popped into my brain there. If you watch Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow today, it looks really janky. It looks really badly created. That's what
janky is. That a word?
Janky. Yeah, janky. It's just all over.
It's like an Australian junkie, is it?
No, it's just a word that's all over. It means all over the place.
Okay.
And that's what Attack on Titan, the movie part 2, is. If you're a fan of the manga and anime, absolutely avoid this, because the director just does not have a clue of the original source material. I'm a big fan of it. I had to watch it to review because I reviewed part 1. I wish I didn't. It's absolutely horrendous.
Okay, final film is Rock the Kasbah, which is directed by Barry Levinson. It is a film that's based loosely on a true story, with the character Richie Lands, played by Bill Murray, who is a music producer, a sort of manager. He deals with finding new talent and then goes and sort of starts to try and get them going. And it has him being a man who ends up in Afghanistan. He finds this young girl there who seems to have an amazing singing voice, but in Afghanistan there is a problem with that a woman is not supposed to be out in public. She's not allowed to go and actually sing in public, and she's not allowed to do that sort of thing. She has to be kept in mostly indoors or face covered and things when outside and such, and he convinces her that he can help her to actually become successful and a singer, and takes her on the road basically to this kind of like an American Idol thing, Afghan Star, and trying to convince her to go on that, even though it's the thing of that she could be potentially kind of killed in reaction for her breaking kind of the sort of unwritten laws of the country. It's a film that I'm not going to be very long on it because it's a film that's a complete and utter mess. The problem is it's directed by someone like Barry Levinson. This is the man who did some fantastic films like Rain Man, Good Morning Vietnam, and things like Wag the Dog, which Wag the Dog is a very good one because it's a whole political thing and comments on that. And this could have been a great sort of thing that commented on the whole thing of the East and the West and the whole thing of Afghanistan and stuff. And it doesn't know what it wants to be. And the thing is, as a result of that, it's not even funny. Bill Murray is literally standing there, and you wonder why Bill Murray is doing the film, because it's not especially well written. It's not funny. He's not funny in it because he's not given much to do. You have Bruce Willis, who turns up as a contractor, a military man who's there on assignment and pops up every now and again and, plays the Bruce Willis role. You have Kate Hudson, who plays a woman who is basically a hooker in a kind of high-priced thing that's, one of these sort of boudoir thing, and it's all closed off and everything, and she's in there, and you kind of sit there wondering, she's the pretty woman hooker with a heart of gold thing, and it really is a terrible mess of a film and awful. And also, you'll love this, Danny McBride has a role in the film.
Oh, his next one is in Alien Covenant.
Oh well, maybe he'll get killed off in that.
Supposedly, though, he's completely 100% serious in it.
No. In this film, he's just very much. It's not as if he's actually bad in this film. He's not. It's a film that it doesn't know what to do with its cast. Doesn't know what to do with anything. It doesn't have a clue. It literally is a film that you like. What? By the end of it, you just go, "What did I just watch for the last hour and 40 odd minutes?" And it's. Really, just the only word I can really say is avoid.
I'm glad I dodged that bullet then. 'Cause, I was supposed to have been reviewing it, but I'd been under such heavy time constraints over the last week.
Yeah, so I was just lucky that I'd seen it for the cinema bit.
I've been absolutely in my head and shoulders with work over the last week. It's been an absolute nightmare. So I was unable to actually review it. So I'm glad I don't have to, because I'm glad that this is getting done in the DVD and Blu-ray section, and that it does not need to be re-reviewed.
Yeah.
So because we don't do that, we don't re-review films.
No, you lucked out.
Yeah, right. It happens with you as well when you look out for the kind of films, some of the films that I have to do. But yeah, I'm glad I dodged that bullet.
Yeah. Okay. TV movies of the week.
I've got 4, but I've got obviously one that I've chosen, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I've got 4 as well that I've chosen, but one, of course.
I think all the ones that I've got, I don't think you'll have.
Oh, really? Okay.
So this might be a chance where we might have 8
right.
to choose from.
Okay, well, the first one I've got is actually in order because my choice is at the end of the week, but the first one was very close to be my choice of the week. Out of the Furnace, tomorrow night, Tuesday the 26th of July. On Film 4 at 9 o'clock, which is a really good drama that I loved when I saw it. It was a very small release in cinema, and I managed to see it, and I really wasn't expecting it to be that good. I was expecting it to be. I like the look of it, but then I walked out. I was really impressed with it. It's a Christian Bale drama about a man who ends up basically going to prison, coming out, years later, and the whole thing of revenge and stuff, which is really, really good. You have District 9 is on Friday the 29th of July on Channel 4 at 12:10 a.m. So it's Friday night, Saturday morning. So it's a late night thing to put on your DVR, or if you haven't already seen it. And a classic one which I recently was thinking I need to watch this again because I haven't seen it for a while, and that is Predator on Saturday the 30th on Film 4 at 9 o'clock. But my choice for TV movie of the week is on Sunday the 31st, Channel 4, 9 o'clock. So you haven't got this one though?
Nope.
No. And it is The Imitation Game. The Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah, because it's a fantastic drama, and Benedict Cumberbatch is brilliant in the film, and it's actually really quite emotional by the end of it, just what this person went through, and to see that, and what sort of the life they were forced to live ultimately, which is quite sort of saddening, but it's a very kind of it's an uplifting but very dark film by the end of it.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 all on different channels. So on E4 on Friday the 29th at 9 o'clock, Sinister.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, the Scott Derrickson film. I watched the second trailer for Doctor Strange, and I'm very intrigued by it. It's got an Inception kind of feel to it, and I'm very intrigued. I hated Sinister 2. Even though I liked the director Kieran Foy, I didn't like Sinister 2 at all. I actually quite liked Sinister. and so Bagul, gives me a chance to actually say that again, sets him up to be a malevolent character, yet it's thrown away badly in the sequel. So I recommend watching Sinister. A film on Film 4, my only film on Film 4, on Saturday the 30th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have a soft spot for this film, so Sister Act. That I just saw that it was part on the schedule itself. I have a soft spot for it. It will always be in my heart, that movie. So yeah, I really like Sister. I've seen it about 25 times. So I know it's a ridiculous amount for that kind of film. Also, on Sunday the 31st at 9 o'clock, on the horror channel, it's The Children. It's a very creepy horror film directed by Thomas Shankland, who did W Delta Z, about these children who end up getting infected by this mysterious virus and start killing their parents. And yeah, it's really dark, really over the top violent in some scenes, but it's not a bad film. It's actually pretty decent, very creepy. But my movie of the week is on BBC Two on late Friday night, early Saturday morning, so 20 to 1 in the morning. The brilliant Tomboy. It's a small little French film directed by Céline Sciamma, and it centres around a 10-year-old girl named Laurie who actually wants to be a boy, and the fact that her parents moved her to this a brand new neighbourhood, and she wants to be a boy. It's a U-rated film. It's very much like the Dardenne Brothers kind of film, in the fact that there is no violence in the movie at all. It just centres around this one character and the fact that she establishes a friendship with a hairdresser as well, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The little girl, Zoe Haran, she is just fantastic, absolutely steals the show in the film itself. So highly recommend Tomboy. I'm hoping that it might be on the BBC iPlayer, because sometimes the BBC iPlayer shows some films, so I'm hoping that will be on there, because it's a very good film to watch. So that's my TV movie of the week.
Okay, that's it for this week's show. We go through the usual sort of shout outs that we have. If you're listening to us live or through download and podcast, you can always find us, the latest information for our show, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can contact us, email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, tweet us at Monday Movie Show, or Facebook. Find us on there at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. You can also tweet us individually. Stuart is at Cryptic Tadpole. I'm at AHDVD. You can find details of us as well, because we're connected with things like Following the Nerd, followingthenerd.com, and also, as you heard in the ads during the show, from page2screen.com. And also on the site's feed, you'll be able to find not only back episodes of the movie show, but you'll also be able to find Following the Gamer, which normally goes out on the Saturday. Did you go out on Tuesday this week? No, you went on the Tuesday the week before, was it?
Yeah, Tuesday the week before, but there is a episode 14 went out on live on Saturday night, so that's on the feed there. It's also on iTunes as well.
Yeah. So you can always find that. As I say though, mondaymovieshow.co.uk is where you can find all that information basically. Movie of the week.
Star Trek Beyond, quite easy, and on Blu-ray DVD, it's just buy both 10 Cloverfield Lane and Zootropolis.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. Definitely. I would probably see Star Trek Beyond again at the cinema, and I will be getting both of those films at some point on DVD and Blu-ray. Well, Blu-ray anyway.
It's a good week for, at least we've got 3 films that are battling against each other, which is a rare thing, but yeah, I know it's going to be a bit of money to spend, but still, it's about £30 in total for the whole experience there, and you're getting 2 films to keep.
Yep. Next week we'll be covering a couple of films in the cinema, things like the new Jason Bourne film, and on DVD and Blu-ray there is the one of the big films getting released with the extended version of it, of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So,
which I should be seeing in 4K.
Oh, okay. Well, you'll be able to listen to Stuart go all about that next week, all about it being in 4K.
It's the extended version also in 4K.
But he'll be going about that all week then, but we're not going to leave you with a clip, as normally we do a clip from next week's show. We already played a Jason Bourne one last week. So now we've got a clip.
Keep finding Dory stuff for me, so when I review it next week as well.
Yeah. So. But what we have got a clip of is coming out in a couple of weeks' time. We already mentioned it in the news. Suicide Squad, which has a cast amongst others: Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie?
Yeah, Margot Robbie.
Yeah. And is the kind of the DC follow-up to Batman v Superman. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but it's in the same world, so you'll be able
more
to.
darker, 15 rated as well.
Yes,
which I'm happy about that.
But that's out in a couple of weeks' time, so next week you'll be able to hear about Batman v Superman, all time and ready for that. But until then, we'll leave you with this clip. So until then, bye bye.
Bye.
Behold the voice of God.
For those of you who don't know me officially, my name is Amanda Waller. There's an event in Midway City. I want you to enter the city, rescue HVT-1, and get them to safety.
I'm sorry, for those of us who don't speak good guy, what is HVT-1?
The only person that matters in the city, the one person you can't kill. Complete the mission, you get time off your prison sentence. Fail the mission, you die. Anything happens to Colonel Flagg, I'll kill every single one of you. Remember, I'm watching. I see everything.
There's your pep talk. So that's it? What, we some kind of suicide squad?
I'll notify your next of kin.